One Piece 1185 back after a good week of hiatus. We continue Brook's flashback in his home kingdom. Well, a flashback that for now still seems a bit mysterious. We don't really know where this is going yet, we'll see together, but before that, let's refresh ourselves with a nice little Harley, the sponsor of this video, of course, yes. You know, when we spend our days in front of a screen editing videos, writing scripts, or binge watching anime until 2 a.m., we often tend to eat and drink whatever. The bag of cheese puffs you demolish in front of Camelot, it feels good. Yeah, for sure, it's enjoyable, but it's not great for your health, and after a while, you start to feel it. Actually, for some time now, I've been trying to rebalance all that a bit. Not in an extreme dieting way, of course, just trying to have a slightly healthier diet on a daily basis. And honestly, one of the things that helps me with that is Ollie. The concept is simple. They're powdered drinks you mix with water, but with a much lighter approach than regular sodas or energy drinks. The Ollie energy range, for example, uses natural caffeine, vitamins, and L-theanine to avoid the big crash you can get after some super sugary drinks. And most importantly, there's zero sugar. So, when you're trying to watch what you eat and cut down on excess, it really helps a lot. In my case, it often replaces coffee and sodas during writing or editing sessions. You still enjoy a nice drink without feeling like you're consuming liquid sugar. I also find it interesting that many new varieties are being developed. Of course, there are the energy and hydration ranges that are well known, but now there are even milkshakes and syrups. They offer different alternatives for different times of the day. Their milkshake range, for example, can be handy when you want something a bit more indulgent without necessarily going for super heavy desserts. Syrups make it easier to flavor water if you struggle to drink enough daily. One refill lasts for several liters. I think the most important thing is not to try to be absolutely perfect overnight, but to gradually change some of your habits. Or even just replacing sugary or unhealthy drinks with a healthier, sugar-free alternative is already an excellent starting point that, in the long run, can make a huge difference. So if you want to try Ollie's product range, you can do so through the link in the description. And with my code OTQ, you'll get a 10% discount on the website. Thanks to them for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the rest of this banger. Yes, so this chapter 1185. So first of all, it's clear that we're moving pretty quickly in this flashback. Right. If I'm not mistaken, we've already spent 4 chapters in the flashback. 3, maybe 4. I was expecting we'd get a whole volume of flashback, although it's not over yet. On top of that, we were going into a flashback within a flashback. In the end, the flashback within the flashback is pretty minor. Just to explain a bit more about the affection, the bond that connects Brook, Candel, and King Leuven, if I'm not mixing up the names. So we move on from that pretty quickly, and we go right back to the original time period of the flashback. And here we go a bit deeper into the relationship between Brook and Princess Chori, who became Gunko, and then later became I don't know who. There you go. Boom, for now it's a flashback. Well, what's the point of a flashback in the first place, especially in One Piece, right? Often a flashback in One Piece is there to provide answers. To shed light on certain mysteries. Well, here it does answer some mysteries. Sure, they're telling us a bit of Brook's true origin story. Brook, since we saw his first origin story back in the days with the Rumbar Pirates, if I remember correctly. And the story with the whale, obviously. And how he died and then who played there. And now we're telling his life before he became a pirate. So it's interesting, you know. But actually, who was really asking the question? No, but for real though? Who was asking the question, like, which kingdom is Brook actually from? Maybe we wondered about it quickly when he first showed up. Because he says, yes, before I was a knight in a certain kingdom, it disappeared. That's it, that's all. But besides that, it wasn't the big mystery we wanted to see, you know. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be told. I'm just saying that for now, the only thing that's been revealed is kind of Brook's origin story. And for now, well, we don't know what purpose it serves in the story yet. Yes, but you need to wait to see everything. In that case, you don't review it yet. You wait until the manga ends to discuss it. You see what I mean? So that argument, yes but no, we're talking about reviewing episode by episode, chapter by chapter. At this point in the chapter, Brook's flashback, I don't understand where they're trying to go, and I'll even be a bit more, maybe a little mean, but realistic. The story he's telling us right now, well, so an isolated kingdom that apparently doesn't quite be part of the world government yet when the story begins, if I understood correctly. A king? There is a king? There is the king's wife. The king's wife falls ill. And the world government attacks afterwards. There's a domi reversi, and that's it. And at some point, the child has to kill his father, who was himself also this domi reversi, apparently. Alright. It seems like this is basically Loki's flashback, but fine, let's go with that. Let's admit it, huh? Why not? Well, anyway. So right now, for the moment, the flashback takes us to a place where we already knew where the story was going at that point. We knew it was going to end with a big clash with the world government and Shuri killing her parents, or at least her father, in this case. With a connection to the Domi Reversi and the world government, that we already knew. So for now, the answers given in this chapter, well, there aren't any answers given in this chapter, and I even want to tell you, we're even adding more mystery. Again, the story about, yes, a few years ago actually, because there's Bro talking. He says, yes, a few years ago actually some guys from the world government showed up. We had never seen them before. They were a bit authoritarian. And then when they left, well, there was Mrs. Candel. She stayed sick for several weeks, but after that she got better. At that point you think, damn, what happened? Something happened. That's it. That sounds like a second flashback. I mean, you drop something like that, it's weird. That's shady. And then boom, marriage, and then boom, Chori shows up. So you start thinking, well, maybe Chori isn't necessarily Leuven's daughter, maybe there's, people say Surok, maybe there's something going on with Chori's very nature, maybe that's even why the world government came back. And that the heavenly tribute was just a pretext to come and get Chori, I don't know. But it's weird actually, you're adding mystery on top of mystery, there's a plot within the subplot. Even though we're already in a subplot, as usual. What you're going to reveal had better be exciting. Because otherwise it's extremely annoying. Same thing, there's this thing where she starts training with Brook and it feels like, you know, in life, and she answers, yeah, I want to be like my mother. Well, what is it? It's kind of a thing like the observation haki, you know? That's what it is. That's it. And he doesn't know about haki Brook, so... Well, why not anyway? So there's a kind of fog that surrounds the island of the kingdom of Esperia, which how should I put it, which makes musical instruments rot. So it weakens the island economically, because the island's main industry was selling musical instruments. I mean, why not? So the island is weakened economically, so people are probably starving. There are tensions. And on top of that, the fog makes people sick. And that's probably what kills the famous Cordeal. So either fate is just piling on, or it's something else. Maybe it's a devil fruit. Maybe it's a Vegapunk weapon or something. I don't know if Vegapunk was born at that time. He wasn't born at that time, Vegapunk. But anyway, either it's a weapon, a stupid bacteriological weapon, or it's a devil fruit power that was used on purpose to weaken this kingdom. Now the question I'm asking myself is why? If that's the case, why would anyone want to weaken the kingdom of Esperia? Let me remind you guys, originally these people are luthiers. That means they sell violins. They sell musical instruments. At first glance? Well, it's not really a huge danger. At first I thought music, the story can be passed on through music, you know, culture, art, all that. But I said, damn, those guys knew too much. They were singing songs they shouldn't have been singing, so we're going to censor them. See what I mean? It's a complicated plan just to censor a few guys. So, it's weird, this whole story about why the world government put so much effort into a small country that sells violins, I don't get it. You're going to have to explain that to us, Mr. Oda. Same here. They don't want to pay the tribute, so they send more or less a buster call, I guess. Even if the name isn't, how should I put it? The name isn't mentioned, but still. Brook, he fights. By the way, we see in this chapter that Brook is someone who's super loyal. The king arrives. Well, actually, we're going to go to war against the world government. The guy just says, okay, your orders. He doesn't ask any questions. He's just like, okay, no problem.
We have to go attack the world government. We have to go take them down. No problem. That's what I like about the character. He kind of gives off a cool vibe when he does that. I think it's stylish. So he fights. He arrives in the castle. And then confusion, astonishment. He sees Shuri, so his let's say his disciple, his protege, killing his best friend, the king, who is also Shuri's father. In the background, we see a guy who is clearly a divine knight. And we also see the silhouette of, I think it's Mars, if I'm not mistaken, so one of the 5 elders who's there. And I think to myself, it's such a tiny country. At first glance, you know, the kingdom of Esperia is a tiny country that doesn't really matter on the map. Why divine knights who are supposed to appear only when things get really intense, you know? Divine knights, a higher threshold for such a tiny country. So remember, careful, I'm calling it out. I think it's strange. You're going to have to explain it to us. There are things about this story that we haven't really been told. We're definitely going to get another flashback at some point, just like we did back then, you know, for Loki's flashback, to get Shuri's point of view. Because right now, we don't understand the turnaround. It's not clear. Back in the days of Loki, I'm not trying to compare, but just to explain. Back in the days of Loki, the turnaround was questionable, because we could see it, he was a rebel. He was a guy, not very sociable, difficult personality. Not evil, but questionable. So we think maybe there's a possibility. There's a world where maybe he kills his father. There are reasons to want his father this place. At that point, we don't know. There, it's all of a sudden, just like that, boom, I'm evil. Ah, she was most certainly possessed. Most certainly, since we see there's a half reversey, she was probably possessed. There you go. But for me, the question is the scale of the resources. We're going to have to justify that. The scale of the resources used to wipe out an island specialized in music. Let me remind you, that's what I wanted to get back to. The island of Aura. So there were archaeologists and historians who were uncovering the secret of the poneglyphs and the Void Century. They got hit with a buster call, sure, but we didn't see, well, actually on the ships there was. It's true that we saw another flashback later where he was out on the ships. But we didn't see how should I put it? We didn't see at that time any divine knights or any members of the 5 elders who were active anyway. So it's strange that for guys who make violins, they deploy so many resources. So I think the key to this whole thing might be Shuri's true origin, which isn't what we think it is. Of course, but they're going to have to explain that to us. But that's what's annoying, because every time they keep telling us, damn, this chapter has some crazy revelations, but there aren't any real revelations, there's just more mystery on top of mystery. We were at 150 mysteries. Now there are 151 mysteries. There you go. It's like Pokemon. There are 151 mysteries. And we'll have to wait and see. So I think Brook's flashback might end in 1 or 2 chapters, but we're going to have to deal with Shuri's chapter. But I'm also asking the question in a more general way. Why should we even care about Shuri, really? I mean, there are 40,000 mysteries that are way more exciting. You're just adding a new one like that at the end. Actually, I had yet another story twist. So, Shueisha can tell him, no, you'll never get 30-page chapters, shut up, deal with your 15 to 17 pages per chapter. But when it comes to telling him, actually you need to calm down, you're going to keep adding characters and stories to your characters all the time. You know, we have 250 characters, that's enough. Maybe finish at some point, move the main story forward, and don't tell us another side story? Maybe. Oda, you had too many stories. It's annoying. There you go, but it's gonna be really good. Shuri's story. Most certainly. But right now at this point you just showed me Im-sama, actually. That's what I was saying last time. It's like if you just threw out Freezer's final transformation like, damn, that's crazy, and actually no, shut up. We'll explore the Jirobe's past because of you. And in the past of the Jirobe's, actually, you also tell us the past of Toto the rabbit. Here, I'm talking to you about kinds of characters from back then. I said, yeah, it's nice, but honestly, I don't care. There's Freezer and Goku there. You see what I mean? So it's quite unusual to make that choice. I don't see it. For now, I can't see the bigger picture, that's true. For now, I don't see what it's about. Honestly, what it's going to add, if it's not lore. And lore, once again, lore, mythology, it's not the plot. What are they going to do with it? You know what I mean? It's pretty frustrating. Just throwing Brook's flashback in there like that, it better be useful in resolving what's happening in Elbaf, because if it's pointless, I might get a little angry. Anyway, so there's still the concept of a flashback that doesn't explain anything, at least for now, so I hope all of this will get sorted out pretty soon, because this story is starting to get a bit confusing. People are going to think I'm an idiot, I can't read, I can read One Piece just fine. How does this story go? Actually, a story is it's kind of like a staircase, let's say. You know, and each story element is a little step that lets you reach the top. So that's the resolution of the story, there you go. I'd like to know if this step is smaller or taller, you know, to see how useful it's gonna be to help us climb to the top of the story. That's what I'm asking. There you go. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say about this chapter, which honestly doesn't reveal anything at all. It just adds more mystery to the mystery once again. It's annoying because I'd really like to come in and say, damn, the chapter was incredible. We got a crazy revelation that totally changes the whole story. But for now, we don't have that. For now, we more or less have the same events as, well, you've seen it. There's my Brock, the story of the rocks, but you pretty much have the same events as what happened in Elbaf back then. I need a bit more explanation here that all of this happened somewhere. And also, Brook's thing, actually, he said everything, actually. The guy didn't say anything. Yeah, he's been annoying us with his whale for ages, but he never talks about his kingdom that was destroyed by the world government. It's just, no, that's enough. No worries. It's still a bit much, you know. Well, it's such a long story, there are bound to be some little inconsistencies. Nobody's perfect. Even Oda, despite his talent, still has minor inconsistencies. For example, there's the issue with Enies Lobby's destruction. Nobody moves! Send those damn Marines in! Nobody moves. But on the other hand, the country that makes violins, if they don't pay their taxes, we show up. It's the French government, that's what it is. That's it. You can do all the stupid things you want, nothing will happen to you. But if you don't pay your taxes, you've got the tax office, Celestial Dragon, whatever, coming in, showing up. Then they screw up your stuff, they screw up your life, they screw up your country, they screw up everything. But on the other hand, the Fid shows up. He messes up the nieces, the Enisob, he escapes, whatever. He goes, he takes me down, he causes a mess like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, it's fine, we're not going to move for that. It's not like anyone died. Yeah, but wait, the guy who sells violins, he doesn't pay his taxes. We're gonna get him, bro. That's crazy, that's crazy. Anyway, it's down to earth. Honestly, more than that, the chapter is nice, but it's not gripping. I'm just like, okay, yeah, well, move on. Actually, this one, go ahead. If we could skip here, do a 2x speed like on Netflix or whatever, or on YouTube, I'd do 2x speed to get through it. Damn, just get to the point. You're annoying me. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say. I'll let you tell me what you think in the comments. Actually, I'm interested to know what people think about the direction this is taking. There better be some crazy revelation, because if the story is just a half twist, well then, there's a possibility. Yeah, I jumped to conclusions a bit. There's a possibility that it has something to do with the fact that Candile was sick at some point. Maybe that's why Leuven went like, okay, I'll make a deal with the world government so they can treat her. Maybe that's what happened too. And so afterwards, when it was time to pay up, he was like, actually, screw you guys, I'm not paying. You see, maybe that's it, because she still died after all. Maybe that's the story. Maybe that's the story. He said, go ahead, treat her, and then I'll join the world government. That way, I'll pay you taxes on the violins I'm selling. Except that she still died. He said, screw you guys, I'm done paying since you didn't fulfill the contract. Maybe that's it. But even if that's the case, I wanted to tell you, like, let's not act tough, actually. What is it? Anyway. That's pretty much all I had to say for the third time. I'll let you tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll see you soon for a new One Piece review. Knowing that there's, if I'm not mistaken, still nothing from Raitu next week. Yeah, still, we have to wait. Yes.